The station floated in silence, a wide ring of metal and light hanging between two stars. It was called Horizon Gate, and it existed for one reason only: first contact that did not end in fear. Elias Verne stood near the observation window, hands resting loosely at his sides. Outside, space moved slowly, like a dark ocean that never slept. He had been on the station for 3 months, long enough for the hum of machines to fade into the background of his thoughts, long enough to know that nothing here was accidental. Every hallway angle, every light color, every sound was designed to make visitors feel calm, or at least calm by human standards. Elias was not a soldier or a politician. He was a behavioral analyst, chosen because he noticed small things: pauses in speech, shifts in posture, the way attention lingered or drifted away. Humanity had learned, the hard way, that first contact was not about strength or speed. It was about understanding. That was why he noticed her staring. She stood across the room, tall and still, her form wrapped in a soft shimmer that bent the light around her body. Salith was the first of her kind to step into human space. Her species did not have faces the way humans did. No eyes, no mouth, no expressions. And yet, Elias felt watched, not threatened, not judged, seen. Her attention stayed on him far longer than was normal, even by alien standards. Other members of her delegation shifted their focus often, scanning the room, checking data feeds, exchanging silent signals through methods humans could barely track. Salith did none of that. Her awareness stayed fixed. Elias adjusted his stance slightly, pretending to read the display on his wrist. The feeling did not fade. He had read every briefing file about her species. They valued efficiency, clarity, and emotional distance. Prolonged focus on a single individual was considered unnecessary at best, rude at worst. And yet here she was. Finally she moved. She crossed the room with smooth, careful steps, stopping just close enough to speak without raising her voice. The station translated her words instantly, layering sound into Elias's ear. "You keep observing me," she said. Elias blinked. "I'm assigned to monitor interactions," he replied honestly. "It's my job." The shimmer around her body pulsed faintly, a sign of thought. "You observe many things," she said. "But your attention returns to me." "That's also part of the job," Elias said, though he knew it wasn't the full truth. Her presence was different.
Not demanding, not cold.
Just focused. Then she said it quietly, almost carefully. "You keep staring like that," she whispered, "and I might start to like it." The translation hesitated for half a second, as if unsure how to shape the sentence. Elias felt heat rise to his face before he could stop it. He stopped himself. He had learned that rushing to speak was rarely helpful in first contact. "I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable." "I am not uncomfortable," Salith replied. "I am curious. Curiosity." That word appeared often in human reports, but rarely in alien ones. They stood there for a moment, the room filled with quiet motion and distant voices. No one interrupted them. The station's artificial intelligence flagged the interaction as low risk and allowed it to continue. "Why do humans stare?" Salith asked. Elias considered the question. "Sometimes we stare because we're afraid," he said. "Sometimes because we're interested. Sometimes because we feel connected." "Connected," she repeated. "Explain." "It's when you focus on someone not to control them," Elias said slowly, choosing simple words, "but to understand them." Salith's shimmer softened, the light bending less sharply around her form. "That is inefficient," she said. Elias smiled slightly. "Most human things are." She did not move away. Over the following days, the staring did not stop. If anything, it became more noticeable. Salith requested Elias's presence during meetings, during cultural exchanges, even during moments that had nothing to do with diplomacy. Officially, she claimed it was for observational consistency. Unofficially, no one argued. Elias began to understand that Salith was not just watching him. She was using him as a reference point. When humans laughed, she watched how he reacted. When tension filled the room, she measured his breathing. When silence fell, she studied whether he tried to fill it or let it exist. "You do not hide your reactions," she told him once. "We're not very good at that," Elias replied. "That makes you difficult to predict," she said. "That makes us human." The alien delegation had expected humanity to be loud, chaotic, and emotionally unstable. What they had not expected was choice. Humans chose when to lean in and when to step back. They chose trust without guarantees. They chose to look at the unknown and not immediately try to own it. Salith found this deeply unsettling. One evening cycle. The lights of the station dimmed to simulate night. Elias sat alone in the common observation area, reviewing notes. He felt the now familiar sensation before he saw her. "You are thinking," Salith said. "That's usually what I do at this hour." "Your thoughts are louder now," she said. He looked up. "Louder? You are concerned," she clarified. "About me." Elias hesitated. Honesty was risky, but dishonesty was worse. "I'm concerned about how others might see our interactions." "Why does that matter?" "Because not everyone understands curiosity the same way," he said. Salith tilted her head, a gesture she had learned from watching humans. "Among my people, sustained attention implies intention." "And intention implies danger?" Elias asked. "Yes." Elias leaned back, staring up at the artificial stars. "For us, sometimes it implies care." Salith was silent for a long time. The station hummed around them, steady and patient. "You do not seek dominance," she said finally. "No. You do not seek advantage. No. You simply look." Elias nodded. "Sometimes that's enough." She moved closer, not touching, but close enough that the air between them felt charged with meaning. "If my people misunderstand this," she said, "there will be consequences." Elias met the place where her eyes would have been. "Then we'll explain." "You cannot explain what you do not fully understand," she said. "That's also very human," he replied. Salith let out a sound the translators marked as amusement. Somewhere deep in the station's systems, a quiet alert registered an anomaly. Not a threat. Not a breach. Just something unexpected. Humanity was not acting as predicted, and for the first time since crossing into human space, Salith felt something unfamiliar settle into her thoughts. Not fear, not logic, but anticipation. She continued to watch him, and Elias did not look away. The change did not come loudly. It did not arrive with alarms or sharp voices. It came quietly, the way understanding often did, slipping into the space between moments. Elias noticed it first in the way people looked at him. Crew members who once greeted him with easy smiles now paused before speaking. Some glanced past him toward Salith as if measuring distance that could not be seen. Others pretended not to notice anything at all, which told him they had noticed everything. Salith continued to watch him. Not always from nearby, sometimes from across the chamber. Sometimes through reflective surfaces, sometimes through the careful stillness that told Elias she was aware of him even when he could not see her. It was not possessive, it was not invasive, it was attentive. During a cultural exchange session, a human linguist explained idioms and indirect meaning. The room was filled with floating symbols, colors, and translated phrases. Salith did not look at the display, she looked at Elias. "You smile when confusion increases," she observed. Elias blinked. "I do? Yes. It is small, but consistent." "I guess it's a habit," he said. "Sometimes smiling helps other humans relax." "And me?" He considered that. "Does it?" Salith paused. "I do not know," she said, "but I notice when it stops." That stayed with him longer than it should have. Later, in a private review chamber, Elias filed his daily report. He chose his words carefully, as always. Increased engagement, no hostility. Positive interaction indicators. He did not write about the way Salith seemed to lean toward him when uncertain. He did not write about the way silence between them felt full instead of empty. The station AI flagged the report anyway. "Behavioral variance detected," the AI said calmly. "Clarification requested." Elias sighed. "What kind?" "Extended unscheduled interaction between human analyst Elias Vernay and envoy Silith exceeds projected parameters." "That's not a violation," Elias said, "just an adjustment." "So does ignoring reality." The AI processed that without response. The alien delegation noticed too. During a closed session, Salith's peers shifted their attention inward, communicating in ways humans could not hear. Their light patterns grew sharper, more angular. Elias could feel the change even without understanding it. "She is altering," one of them finally said through translation. "Her focus is narrowing." Salith did not deny it. "My focus is refining. This human is influencing you." "He is informing me," Salith replied. "That distinction is irrelevant." Salith's shimmer dimmed slightly, a sign Elias had learned meant restraint. It is relevant to me. Elias stayed silent. He had learned that sometimes the best thing a human could do was not speak at all. The meeting ended without resolution. That night cycle, Saleth found Elias again in the observation ring. The artificial stars glowed softly above them. The station rotated slowly, like a thought turning over itself. "They are concerned," Saleth said. "So am I," Elias replied. "Why?" "Because first contact is fragile," he said. "People expect patterns. When those patterns change, fear follows. My people do not fear," she said. Elias smiled gently. "You're standing in a room built to make people feel safe. That's fear, just shaped differently." Saleth considered that. "You are very comfortable with contradiction. We practice a lot." She moved closer, her presence calm but intense. "If I reduce my attention," she said, "they will be satisfied. And if you don't, they may intervene." "And what do you want?" That question hung between them, simple and dangerous. "I want to understand why humans connect without certainty," she said. "Why you accept incomplete data and still choose trust." Elias looked away briefly, then back. "Because waiting for certainty means never moving at all. That is, inefficient." And yet Elias said, "Here you are." For the first time, Saleth did not respond immediately. The next day, a formal request arrived. Saleth asked for Elias to be reassigned as her primary human liaison. It was unprecedented. It would remove layers of mediation. It would increase risk. The station council debated for hours. "She's isolating him," one official said. "Or choosing him," another replied. Elias sat outside the chamber, hands folded, heart steady but alert. He had not asked for this, but he knew better than to pretend he did not want it. When the decision came, it was careful and conditional. Elias would serve as liaison under observation. The arrangement could be revoked at any time. Saleth accepted without visible reaction. Afterward, in a quiet corridor, she spoke softly. "You did not object." "I didn't need to," Elias said. "This isn't about control." "It never is with you," she replied. Their conversations deepened. They spoke of human stories, not as data but as experience. Elias told her about looking up at the sky as a child and realizing the stars were real places. He told her about failure, about choosing again after loss. He kept his words simple, but the meaning carried weight. Saleth shared what she could. Her people did not tell stories. They exchanged conclusions. Emotion was not hidden, but it was not shared freely either. Attention was power. To give it without purpose was considered dangerous. "You give it easily," she said. "Not easily," Elias corrected. "Carefully." That distinction mattered to her. Others began to notice changes in Saleth. She paused longer before responding. She asked questions that had no immediate function. She watched not just Elias, but how humans interacted with one another, how they filled silence, how they accepted uncertainty. The alien delegation grew uneasy. "This human is reshaping her," they warned. "No," Saleth replied calmly. "He is showing me options." Options were dangerous. One cycle, as Elias prepared to leave a session, Saleth spoke again, her tone lower than usual. "When I said I might start to like it," she said, "I did not understand the implication." "And now?" Elias asked. "I am beginning to," she said. He felt that familiar warmth rise again, but he did not step back. "Liking isn't a demand," he said. "It's an opening." "Openings lead to change." "Yes," Elias said softly. That's the point. Somewhere in the station's deep systems, projections updated, probability curves shifted, outcomes once considered unlikely moved closer to center. Humanity was no longer just being observed. It was being felt. And for the first time in generations, the galaxy was being asked a question it had avoided for far too long. What happens when understanding is chosen, not enforced? Saleth continued to watch Elias. But now others were watching her too, and the quiet tension of first contact began to tighten, not toward violence, but toward something far more uncertain. Transformation. The pressure did not show itself in sharp ways. It moved slowly, like gravity, pulling, without asking permission. Elias felt it during routine moments. Conversations paused when he entered a room. Data requests took longer to approve. Friendly voices became careful ones. No one accused him of anything, but everyone seemed to wait for something to go wrong. Saleth noticed too. You are being observed differently, she said during one of their private sessions. That's part of my job, Elias replied. This is not professional observation, she said. This is evaluation. Elias leaned back slightly, folding his hands. People get nervous when things don't fit clean models. My people share this trait, Selah said. We pretend we do not. Their time together had become structured in name only. Officially, Elias guided her through human behavior, communication, and decision-making patterns. Unofficially, their meetings had turned into something else entirely. Not friendship, not alliance, but a shared space where questions were allowed to exist without immediate answers. That, more than anything, was what unsettled both sides. During a council session, Selah spoke out of turn. It was not dramatic. She did not raise her voice or disrupt the flow. She simply responded before the final data summary concluded. Incomplete information does not justify delay, she said. Humans act despite uncertainty. The chamber fell quiet. One of her own delegates shifted sharply. That conclusion lacks sufficient modeling. It lacks comfort, Selah replied, not accuracy. All eyes turned to Elias. He said nothing. Later, in a quiet corridor, Elias spoke carefully. You challenged them publicly. They were wrong, Selah said. That may be, Elias replied, but timing matters. Selah considered this. You choose restraint even when confident. Most of the time, he said. Not always successfully. She watched him, that steady attention he had grown used to. This choice, she said, is difficult for you. Yes, and yet you do it. Yes. Because pushing too hard closes doors, he said, and I don't want doors closed between us. The words hung there, heavier than he had intended. Selah did not withdraw. You assume doors can remain open without force? I've seen it happen, Elias said. Rarely, she replied. Rarely, he agreed. But rarely is better than never. That night cycle, Selah did not leave when their session ended. She remained still, her presence calm but focused. My people have issued a concern notice, she said. Elias felt his chest tighten slightly.
About you?
About us, she corrected. He did not pretend to misunderstand. What does that mean? They believe my attention has shifted from strategic to personal, she said. They believe this weakens my objectivity. And do you? Elias asked. Selah paused longer than usual. I believe my objectivity has changed, she said. Not weakened, expanded. That answer would not satisfy them. The next days brought subtle restrictions. Selah's movements were monitored more closely. Elias's access requests were reviewed twice. Conversations that once flowed easily were now surrounded by quiet supervision. Still, Selah continued to seek him out. You do not avoid me, she observed. Should I? Elias asked. Others would, she said. Others aren't me. She seemed to accept that. One session focused on human decision-making under pressure. Elias showed her examples where humans chose cooperation over efficiency and still succeeded. He kept his language simple, careful not to overwhelm. You accept loss as part of progress, Selah said. Yes, Elias replied. We don't like it, but we live with it. My people eliminate loss, she said. Or attempt to. And what do you lose by doing that? Elias asked. Selah did not answer immediately. That silence stretched longer than usual. I am beginning to understand what humans call regret, she said finally. Elias did not smile. That's a heavy thing to learn. It is, she agreed. But it implies choice. Yes, Elias said softly. It does. The alien delegation convened without humans present. Their internal communications intensified, patterns growing sharper, more rigid. Elias could feel the tension even without access to their channels. Selah was called away for an extended evaluation. For the first time since her arrival, Elias did not see her for an entire cycle. The absence was louder than her presence had ever been. When she returned, something had changed. Her shimmer was more controlled, her movements more precise. She spoke with measured clarity, her tone closer to her people's norms. They have issued a directive, she said plainly. Elias met her gaze. What kind? I am to reduce non-essential interaction, she said, including prolonged engagement with you. Elias nodded slowly. I see. You are not surprised, she observed. I was hoping, he said, but not surprised. She watched him closely. You are disappointed. Yet you accept it. I respect your position, he said, and your choice. Her shimmer flickered, just briefly. I did not say I accepted it. Elias looked up sharply. I said it was issued, she continued. Not that I agreed. That was dangerous. You don't have to defy them. I am not, Saleth replied. I am questioning them. That was even more dangerous. Their meetings became shorter but more focused. Every word carried weight. Every silence said something. Saleth asked fewer questions about humans and more about Elias himself. Why he chose this work. Why he stayed calm under pressure. Why he looked at her the way he did. You see me as more than a role, she said. Yes, Elias replied. But I don't forget the role. That balance, she said. It is difficult. We practice, Elias said again. One cycle. The station experienced a minor systems fluctuation. Nothing serious, but enough to disrupt routine. For a brief time, translations lagged, displays dimmed, and the artificial stars flickered. In that moment of uncertainty, Elias and Saleth stood alone in the observation ring. No supervision. No audience. Humans respond to instability with adaptation, Saleth said. Usually, Elias replied. And connection, she added. Yes, he said. She stepped closer. Not touching. Just present. If my people decide this influence is unacceptable, she said, they will recall me. Elias felt the weight of that possibility settle in his chest. And what do you want? Saleth did not answer immediately. When she did, her voice was steady. I want to choose, she said. That's a very human thing to want, Elias replied. She seemed to consider that a compliment. The system stabilized. Lights returned to normal. Observers reappeared. But something had shifted. Saleth no longer watched Elias alone. She watched herself too. And for the first time, she understood that attention was not just something given. It was something risked. As the station resumed its quiet rhythm, projections updated again. Outcomes once dismissed now demanded review. Models strained to account for a variable no one had planned for, a human who did not push, an alien who chose to feel, and a connection that refused to stay inside the lines drawn for it. The galaxy did not know it yet, but the question had changed. Not whether humanity could be trusted, but whether the universe was ready for a species that chose understanding even when it was inconvenient, and whether that choice, once seen, could ever truly be undone. The recall order did not arrive as a message, it arrived as a silence that lasted too long. Elias noticed it when Saleth did not appear at their usual time. The observation ring remained empty. The stars continued their slow artificial drift. Minutes passed, then an hour. No explanation came. He did not panic. He had learned that panic closed doors. Still, something heavy settled in his chest. When Saleth finally arrived, she did not come alone. 2 members of her delegation followed at a careful distance. Their light patterns were tight, controlled, and watchful. Saleth stopped several steps away from Elias, farther than she ever had before. They have initiated formal review, she said. Elias nodded. About recall? Yes. The word echoed quietly in the space between them. They believe my presence here is no longer neutral, Saleth continued. And you? Elias asked. Her pause was small, but it mattered. I believe neutrality was never possible, she said. Only honesty. The delegates shifted. One of them spoke, voice sharp with restraint. This interaction has exceeded acceptable parameters. The human influence is altering her decision framework. Elias kept his voice calm. She's allowed to change. Change is acceptable, the delegate replied. Uncontrolled change is not. Saleth turned slightly toward them. You define control as safety, she said. Humans define trust as safety. That definition is inefficient. So is fear, Saleth said. The room grew very still. Elias understood then that this was no longer about him. It was about what Saleth represented to her people. An example. A risk. A question they did not want asked. The delegates withdrew, leaving Saleth and Elias alone under supervision that could not be seen but was deeply felt. You do not have much time, Elias said quietly. No, Saleth agreed, but time is not the only measure. They walked together along the curve of the station, their pace unhurried, despite the weight pressing in from all sides. The walls glowed softly, responding to their movement. Somewhere far below, machines worked to keep the illusion of peace alive. My people believe humans are dangerous because you accept uncertainty, Salith said. We do, Elias replied. But we don't worship it, we live with it. You live with contradiction, she said. You feel without surrendering reason. You trust without surrendering caution. That took a long time to learn, Elias said. And we still get it wrong. That honesty, she said, is what unsettles them. They stopped near the wide window where the stars seemed closest. If you are recalled, Elias said, what happens next? I return, Salith said. I report. I am reassigned. And the connection? Elias asked. That depends, she said, on whether it is seen as contamination or precedent. Elias looked at her. And what do you see it as? She did not answer right away. When she did, her voice was steady. I see it as a mirror. Elias smiled faintly. Humans are good at those. They show you what you already are, she continued, not what you wish to be. The next cycle brought the summit. Every delegation gathered, human and non-human alike. The chamber was wide and open, designed to feel equal to all species present. Elias sat among the human observers, hands folded, heart steady. Salith stood at the center. The review began with data. Charts, projections, risk assessments. The alien coalition spoke of influence, deviation, unpredictability. Humans listened without interruption. Then Salith spoke. She did not follow her people's structure. She did not present conclusions first. She began with an experience. I was sent to observe humanity, she said. I was told to measure threat, instability, and compliance. Light patterns shifted across the chamber. I found none of those in the way expected, she continued. Instead, I found choice. Murmurs rippled through the room. Humans choose connection without guarantees, she said. They accept incomplete knowledge and still act with care. They do not eliminate uncertainty. They carry it. One delegate interrupted. This is anecdotal. Yes, Salith replied calmly. Because humans are not data points. They are participants. She turned slightly, her attention brushing past Elias without resting fully on him. I was not altered by human influence, she said. I was revealed by it. Silence followed. Elias felt something loosen in his chest. Salith continued, if this is considered dangerous, then the danger is not humanity. It is change itself. The coalition deliberated in real time. Patterns flared and dimmed. Human officials exchanged careful looks. Finally, the lead delegate spoke. You propose granting humanity a role beyond observation. Yes, Salith said. I propose partnership. That is premature. That is fear, Salith replied, and fear is inefficient. The word landed harder this time. The chamber waited. After a long pause, a compromise emerged. Humanity would not be corrected or constrained further. Instead, a trial would begin. Humans would serve as intermediaries in limited contexts. Observers would monitor outcomes. Salith would not be recalled. Elias exhaled slowly, not realizing he had been holding his breath. Later, in the quiet aftermath, Elias and Salith stood again by the window. You spoke boldly, Elias said. I spoke honestly, she replied. The risk was acceptable. And now? And now, she said, the risk continues? He smiled. That sounds familiar. She turned toward him, her presence warm with meaning. When I said I might start to like it, she said softly, I did not understand that liking implies responsibility. It does, Elias said. You don't owe me anything, though. I know, she replied. That is why this matters. They stood there, not touching, not needing to. Around them, the station resumed its careful rhythm. Models updated, protocols adjusted. The galaxy took a small step away from certainty and did not fall apart. Salith continued to watch Elias. But now, it was not curiosity alone. It was choice. And that choice, once made, could not be easily taken back. The universe had learned something simple and dangerous. Humans did not demand attention, they offered it. And some beings, once they accepted that offer, found they could never see the same way again. The station felt different after the summit. Nothing had changed on the surface. The lights still glowed softly. The halls still curved in careful lines meant to comfort many kinds of minds. The stars outside still moved in their slow, patient paths. And yet, something invisible had shifted. Elias felt it in the way people breathed. The tension was not gone, but it had changed shape. It was no longer fear waiting to break. It was attention waiting to learn. Salith noticed it immediately. The environment has adjusted, she said as they walked together through the upper ring. Human behavior is more open. They're curious, Elias replied. That's usually our next step after fear. Your species moves through emotional states quickly, she said. But you do not forget them. No, Elias said. We carry them forward. Salith absorbed that in silence. Her role had changed. She was no longer only an observer. She was now a bridge, whether she wanted to be or not. Other delegations approached her differently. They asked questions they had never asked before. They watched not just her answers, but how she arrived at them. And they watched Elias. He was invited into rooms he had never entered before. Strategic discussions. Quiet side conversations. Moments where people wanted to understand what could not be written into reports. How do humans decide who to trust? One delegate asked him. We don't always decide, Elias answered honestly. Sometimes we just begin and see what happens. That seems dangerous, the delegate replied. It can be, Elias said, but it can also be the only way forward. Salith stood nearby, listening, not intervening, letting the words exist on their own. Later, when they were alone again, she spoke softly. You make uncertainty sound survivable. It usually is, Elias said. We've been living with it since we first looked up at the sky. I understand now why my people fear you, she said. Elias smiled faintly. Because we don't wait for permission? Because you do not require certainty to care, she corrected. That is destabilizing. That's one way to put it. Salith's attention rested on him, steady and calm. It is also hopeful. That word still felt new when she used it. The trial period began quietly. Humans were assigned as mediators in low-risk interspecies misunderstandings. Small things, misread intentions, cultural gaps. Moments where logic alone failed. The results were not perfect. Humans misunderstood sometimes. They made mistakes. They asked too many questions. They hesitated when others expected speed. But they listened. And that changed things. Salith observed these interactions closely. She noticed how humans admitted error without collapsing, how they apologized without losing confidence, how they stayed present even when outcomes were unclear. This behavior spreads, she said, one cycle watching a group of delegates speak more slowly, more carefully than before. It does, Elias agreed. Understanding is contagious. So is uncertainty, she said.
Yes, he replied.
But so is trust. She looked at him. You believe trust is stronger than fear. I believe fear is louder, Elias said. But trust lasts longer. That answer stayed with her. As cycles passed, the recall order was quietly removed. Not announced, not celebrated, simply erased, as if it had never existed. Among her people, that was a powerful signal. Salith felt the weight of that attention, but it no longer frightened her. She had learned that attention did not always mean control. Sometimes it meant care. Sometimes it meant responsibility. One evening, as the artificial stars dimmed, she joined Elias at the observation window again. It had become a familiar place, a place where things could be said or not said without pressure. When I return to my people, she said, I will not be the same. Elias nodded. None of us ever are. They may not accept this change, she continued. They might, Elias said, eventually, and if they do not, then you'll still have chosen, he replied. That matters. She considered him. You speak as if choice is enough. Sometimes it is, Elias said. Sometimes it has to be. Salith's shimmer softened, light bending gently around her form. I have learned something here that cannot be unlearned. And what's that? Elias asked. That attention, when freely given, creates meaning, she said. Not obligation, not weakness, meaning. Elias felt a quiet warmth settle in his chest. That's a very human conclusion. Then perhaps, she said, humanity's greatest strength is not adaptation or resilience. What is it then? She looked at him fully and without hesitation. You choose to see others, even when it costs you nothing and promises you nothing. Elias let out a small breath. We don't always get it right. No, she agreed, but you try without certainty of reward. They stood there, sharing the silence. The trial period ended with no dramatic announcement, just a quiet update in the Coalition's shared records. Humanity was reclassified, not as a variable, not as a risk, but as a connector species. The galaxy adjusted around that idea slowly, carefully. Old models were rewritten. New questions were allowed. Salith prepared to leave Horizon Gate. Her mission here was complete, though its effects were only beginning. On her final cycle, she met Elias one last time by the window. "You will continue this work," she said. "Yes," Elias replied. "With or without you." She seemed pleased by that. "Good." They stood close, not touching, not needing to. "When you first watched me," Elias said gently, "did you know what you were looking for?" "No," Salus said, "but I knew it mattered." "And now?" "Now I know that liking something is not the same as owning it," she said. "It is allowing it to exist freely," Elias smiled. "That might be the most important thing we've learned." She turned slightly, as if imprinting the moment. "If our paths cross again," she said, "it will be by choice." "I wouldn't want it any other way," Elias replied. She stepped back, her form glowing softly, then turned toward the departure corridor. She did not look back. She did not need to. Elias remained at the window long after she was gone. The stars continued their endless movement. The station hummed with quiet life. Humanity had not conquered anything. It had not proven itself superior. It had simply been human. And that, somehow, had been enough. Somewhere far beyond Horizon Gate, Salith carried that lesson with her. A truth shaped not by force, but by attention freely given. The galaxy would change because of it. Slowly. Quietly. And forever.